Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? It is 11 o'clock here on a Monday on Edmonton Sports Talk, and it is time for The Lock Shop. Dusty with you to get things going. Hustle be by here as well as his team, the Kansas City Chiefs, gets ready to head to another Super Bowl. My team, the Detroit Lions, do not. You Jazz is in and says, so who else got hosed on parlays by one leg yesterday? Pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much how it worked. It was just one of those days. Jim is in and says, get on with it. Thank you. We moved along pretty quickly today, Jim. Hey, don't you think? I thought we moved along pretty quickly onto the Lock Shop from the Hangout today. Great Hangout today, by the way. If you're looking for a place to watch the big game, you can join us. We will be at Century Casino, Fort Road, in the Sports Bar and Lounge. You can reach out to them, as Renee said on the Hangout today, to book a table if you want to join us there for the Chiefs and the Niners. You can join me to hate watch the Super Bowl with a few other people. But obviously, it's a game that we'll be betting very heavily. I'm sure Coolbet will get us some Swifty props that we'll get. Will there be a prop for Travis Kelce wins the Super Bowl, proposes to Taylor Swift on stage? My God, there's got to be a prop for it. It would be a long shot, but that'd be an all-time move, man. I think that'd be good. Big Uke needed 2 more Ayuk receptions for a 10-legger, and then we all needed Gibbs to have 9 more yards. I know. 9 more yards. They kind of dialed them back a bit after the fumble. I get it. But I thought we were cruising along in that parlay. Laporta, St. Brown, Goff, and then Gibbs yards. That was a tough one. Spency 5 cents, he says, I did have a big Saturday, though. Rode dry over 1.5 and 2.5 again. A Hyman goal on a 4 times bet builder. Hello. You got to like that one as well. Mark is in and says, my dad went old school and used Proline. Parlayed KC win by 3 or more and a tie in the second game. No one wins by more if 3 in the second. That's correct. That would be the old tie. Paid 14-1. Not bad for Mark. Mark, did your dad get you into sports gambling? Is that how it worked? As a young child, did he get you into sports gambling? That's a fun story. That's like a fun discussion to do on the Lock Shop today. Or not today, but like at some point. Maybe today. Obviously, we don't have any football to bet this week, but we'll be discussing things. A quiet week, actually. Quiet week with no football to bet this week. We'll have some golf to bet, obviously. We'll get into that on Wednesday's episode. A light week in the National Hockey League as well. So maybe time to get into a good conversation, maybe full-blown later in the week. How did you first get in to sports betting? Because for me, it would have been like BC Lotteries back when I was like in junior high school. That's when I first got sucked in. And now here I am hosting Canada's best daily sports betting show with my man, Huss. Kansas City Chiefs. Congratulations, Huss. Back to the big dance yet again.
I wanted to give you a couple minutes just to vent.
Yeah, I still haven't even vented. I haven't even got there yet.
Address the people beforehand. Thank you. I was thinking about this on Friday and on Saturday going into the game. Because I will admit, I was as nervous about this game in Baltimore as I've been for any Chiefs playoff game, including the Bucs Super Bowl, where they had no offensive line. And it was just to appreciate what Mahomes, Andy Reid, and this team have done. I mean, 6 straight AFC championship games is so insane in the salary cap world right now. We see teams making big jumps from year to year, having a couple years, then having to move back down. And they did it again. They did it again. And the funny thing about it was, man, Andy Reid didn't even have to, you know how much firepower he left in his pocket in the second half of that game? Andy Reid in the big plays has all sorts of stuff. He didn't really have to use any of it. I mean, I've been telling you all season long, that I know, like, listen, the offense looked terrible at times and the guys couldn't catch, but this is the best defense of the Mahomes era.
This is by far the best defense. I still think their offense is kind of mid, but their defense is legit.
Hey, it wasn't mid in the first half when they needed to. I mean, listen, they could have, and for all the morons out there that keep on telling me and everybody else that, oh, the Chiefs get all the calls, the Chiefs had a bogus holding call, take a touchdown off the board. And I don't know if you've seen that play in the end zone where Chiefs punted it down to like the 1 or 2 yard line. And Chris Jones is coming in, and Justice Hill does a leg whip and hits Chris Jones, which is a penalty 10 out of 10 times if the refs see it. That would have been a safety as well. So
look at you coming in on a victory lap and still going at the officials. Amazing. Well, I love it.
No, I'm not going at the officials. I'm going at the ridiculous narrative that the officials somehow are the ones helping the Chiefs do all this. I mean, that wasn't the case. Listen, it was just an incredible defensive performance. Trent McDuffie, first team All-Pro. A lot of people don't know him. He was absolutely brilliant in that game. And I mean, L'Jarius Sneed, who
great play,
for somehow was overlooked. And I think part of it is that, nobody throws to him. I mean, I always remember Revis Island and like, oh, well, geez, he's not getting a lot of stats. Yeah, well, guys aren't really going at him. All the top receivers, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, you name them, he kept most of them under 50 yards, never mind under 100 yards. So he had the game, and that play, the awareness, and that honestly is the difference between championship teams. Because, I mean, the difference level in talent is minute. But for a guy like Zay Flowers taking that stupid penalty, which cost them 15 yards, then getting him a chance to get back into the end zone. I mean, if he tucks that thing and just goes in, that's a touchdown. But didn't have the awareness, exposed the football, and Snead goes in and pops it out. I mean, to me, that was the game. And for the talk about the Chiefs offense in the second half, you know what that was? That was Patrick Mahomes. We've seen him be like the craziest quarterback we've ever seen doing all these things. That was him being a game manager. They knew that if they didn't make a mistake, if they didn't turn the football over, they were winning that football game. And they ran the ball. They didn't do anything dumb. They held field position. They punted it. They forced Lamar to go 99 yards or 90 yards, and they got it done. And it's amazing, man. Another, 4 AFC championships in 5 years, another trip to the Super Bowl. Like, as someone that has cheered for brutal teams my entire life, I pinch myself often just thinking about Mahomes, the difference that he's made. And honestly, Andy Reid, too. I went through a list last night of all the starting quarterbacks that the Chiefs have had since I became a fan in the late 90s. And, there was a nice run with Trent Green, back with Dick Vermeil. And then you get into Damon Heward, Matt Castle, Brody Croyle, Brady Quinn for a few games. And it was absolutely terrible. And the turnaround started with Alex Smith. And Alex Smith was incredible for Kansas City. They became a playoff team again. They won, they were challenged, but they couldn't get it done in the playoffs. And I mean, I'm sure you guys have gone through the numbers. I mean, Mahomes now in his career in the playoffs has played 17 games, which is the equivalent of a 17-game season. And you're doing it against only the best of the best. And he's 14-3 right now. The numbers, I mean, I won't go through all the yardage and everything like that, but it's truly all time. And here's the comparison for, because obviously it always comes up with Brady, because there's no one in the game right now that you can compare to Patrick Mahomes. It's not close. Mahomes to Brady is Tiger Woods to Jack Nicklaus. Nicklaus has he's got the record. He's the standard. He's what everything's measured. And he's put up a number that even with Mahomes doing Mahomes things might not ever be able to get to. But Mahomes is doing what Tiger Woods did to the game, which is revolutionize it and play it at the highest level we've ever seen played.
Wow. You're not messing around here, eh?
No,
no quarterback in the history of game has ever played the game as high level as Patty Mahomes right now.
Is that even debatable?
Oh, he didn't lead the league in any stats this year.
I'm talking about this 5-year.
Oh, you're talking 5-year window.
Well, I mean, really, his career. He's been a starter for 6 years.
Yeah.
He's been to 6 AFC championship games. He's going to his 4th Super Bowl. He's won 2. He might win 3. Which, I mean, if you look at Brady,
from that, if we're looking like for career stretch, especially if he delivers a 3rd one here, and I think he can make a legitimate case for the stretch for sure. Yeah, I think that would be good. You know,
I mean, by everything. I mean, he's got the record for everything. I mean, you want most yards in a season, you want touchdowns, you want all those things. All the individual things are there. But the ability to win these games, especially now on his big contract with a bunch of guys. By the way, can I give a shout out to MVS?
Oh my God.
MVS, who during the regular season was an absolute liability. And even when he was making plays like the Packer game on that infamous PI that was not called in that loss at the end of the game, he was sort of becoming more involved at the end of the year, still had a couple drops at the end. No one thought much of it. Had a massive game last week in Buffalo. And for the 2nd straight AFC championship game, ended up coming out of nowhere and becoming a big impact player. And that catch at the end also got me that prop. Which was
so that
beautiful.
helps. He only had 2 catches. One of them was for 6 yards, and then he had that one, right? So
yeah, I think his total was 14.5 or something like that. So that was a good. So anyways, I'm obviously in a great state
Can
of
you
mind.
tell, like, I think the Ravens coaching staff has to be the most disappointing element of this weekend in the National Football League, because they handed the ball off to they handed the ball off to their running backs 5 times. If you're the Baltimore Ravens and you're in a close football game and you can run the ball, what was Kansas City 27th in the league this year against the run?
They were 17th.
Were they 17th? I read this morning they were 27th. Maybe that's DVOA or whatever. Anyway, the Bills ran the ball on them. Didn't win, but they ran the ball on them. I don't understand why the Chiefs got away from the run when they're known for running the ball. Like, to give the ball to Hill and Edwards a total of 5 times is just poor coaching. That made no sense to me.
Listen, that game yesterday, folks, was a Spags masterpiece. We're going to talk a lot about Andy Reid, and we're going to talk a lot about Mahomes and Kelsey. Oh my God, was he good yesterday? But Steve Spagnuolo had just a masterclass of coaching against Lamar Jackson.
Like, basically forced them to not run the ball. Is that? Because I don't know how you wouldn't run the ball.
If you think back early on, they did run the ball. They tried to. Again, you made the statement about the number of times. They had a couple of that kind of broke through for significant gains. But then on first down, when they tried to do it a few times, they got stopped, and it was, then 2nd and 9. And listen, they were trying to get Lamar cooking. They were trying to get him to, to be. I mean, listen, when the Baltimore Ravens offense is running, the reason why they're able to run is because they are so focused on Lamar Jackson and what he's going to be able to do. And, we kind of talked about it going into the week. Like, this wasn't going to be all about just going in and, blinders on trying to get sacks, although they got into them. It was about putting some pressure on, but making damn sure that you're not going to let him go and run for 25 or 30 yards.
Yeah.
And, like, even still, he made a couple big plays, like, early on. But as the game went on, the Ravens just simply didn't have an answer to the defense that the Chiefs were playing. I mean, the coverage was incredible. Like, if you don't have a secondary that plays the way the Chiefs secondary did, it's a different story. I mean, Flowers got away from Snead on that one play, or from Nick Bolton on that one play, and ended up scoring. But other than that, and that's why, I mean, they had such control. Like, you didn't see the Chiefs really selling out on those 3rd downs in the second half. They were more than happy to get a play that's going to take another 45 seconds off the clock and get Townsend out there and say, all right, we're winning by 10. Go for it. Go the length of the field. And they went almost the length of the field one time, ended up with the field goal, and then that was it. And I mean, listen, I'm a Lamar fan, and I know there's a lot of Lamar fans, but we've seen that version of playoff Lamar Jackson before. And I think when you move up against the top defenses and the top level of competition and the top coaching, there's an extra level. Taylor Lewan talked about it. I think I mentioned this to you on Friday's show about the way the Titans limited him in 2019. And it was the same story yesterday. And, you know, he wasn't able to raise his level of play to where they needed to it. I mean, there was a lot of other guys that contributed to it. And there's something about a team like the Chiefs that has been there and knows what it takes to win, knows what prevents you from winning, turnovers, terrible penalties, all those things. They didn't do it. And that's the championship pedigree coming through. So I don't know. We got a heck of a matchup. I mean, you said the most disappointing coaching job is the Ravens. I might throw your guy Dan Campbell.
I don't disagree with anything he did. Except for running the ball with 3 timeouts left at the end of the game. I mean, the other two,
insane.
Did he that one? I was just like, why are you running the ball there? Then you're completely putting it on. Even if you do score, you have to go for the onside kick. I did not like that. It surprised me that they did that. But as for the other two, I mean, I was just looking at some.
You wouldn't have kicked the field goal on 4th and 3 to tie the game up?
Not from 48, I don't think. Honestly, with the way that he's handled it, if I was coaching, I would have. But as a Lions fan and Dan Campbell supporter, I did not expect them to make. I expected them to go for it. I didn't even like when you know, like sometimes you'll be like, oh, what's the decision? What's the decision? I knew it wasn't going to be a decision. The Detroit Lions this year, 4th and 3 or fewer, 15 of 20, and 2 of 2 in the playoffs heading into that game. Like, these are why they make these decisions. They hit it at a 75% clip as they work their way through the season. And Badgley, who they have kicking field goals for them, in his career from 48 and out, he's 45%. So the percentages actually on that say that you have a much better chance of converting when you got Badgley, who's a horrible kicker. Like, he cannot kick from outside 48 on average in his career. Had been better lately. Maybe there was a case to make something out of it there. He's also 1 for 5 on grass in the last 3 years. He doesn't kick on grass, and when he does, it's no good. So I can see why the numbers would even more so do it. Most coaches, if it was me in that situation, I probably would have tied the game. But these are the decisions Dan Campbell has made all year. And I'm not going to roll in and question him in this game when all year long I supported the guy. So, I mean, did they lose the game because of that, or did they lose the game because in the third quarter they couldn't stop? Or actually, in the whole second half, they couldn't stop Brock Purdy running the ball. I mean, Purdy was excellent with his feet. What did he have, 50 yards in the second half? Big moments where they had him in spots where they could have got out of it, and he just managed to get it done. So, like, defensively, yeah.
To me, that shouldn't have mattered. They were going to get theirs in the second half. They had a 17-point lead. And listen, let's go back to the end of the first half. I mean, if you're go all the time, I thought he intelligently took the 3 points and gave themselves a 3-score lead in that case.
I think at the end of the half, they talked about, and I thought it made a good point when I hopped online to talk about it, is that, you know, it's the end of the half. You're not playing like a field position game at that point. You're just trying to take the points. So, I mean, I still was a little bit surprised he settled for that too, because I thought he was going to go for it. But obviously their numbers justify late in the game, or late when there's no time left, basically, just to take the points in that situation. But
you really think that there's any numbers involved? Like, Dan Campbell is not a numbers guy. He doesn't seem like a numbers guy. He is a gut guy that always says go for it. And I think whether someone got in his ear, but basically said, guys, we're up 14 right now. We've got an easy 3. We go to the locker room up 17 in the NFC Championship game. I mean, I think it was the right call. I absolutely think it was the right call. And I mean, if you think of the times that they went for it before, there's one thing to do it if you're in a shootout, if you're in a close game. To me, like, having a lead like that changes the equation. Like, there is a time and a place for everything. And I'll tell you what, the time and a place to go for it on 4th and 3 is not down 3 in a game where you've been hemorrhaging points and know that the offense is going to be getting the ball back and has the possibility of scoring as well. Like, they need to stay in that game. And ironically, they got it. They came back, got that touchdown. And one of the biggest plays in the game might have been, I can't remember who it was, but it was one of the tight ends, I believe, that got the ball right out and should have scored.
Yeah,
but
he touched
out.
Yeah,
and then that gave him the opportunity, and then the running,
that took too much time off the clock
and wasting a timeout. All of a sudden, then it's onside kick or nothing. And then they ended up not getting it. So I love Campbell's aggressiveness in general, but I thought that was terribly mismanaged, and it really cost his team at worst the opportunity. And listen, if you're kicker, if
they tie the game there, though, the Niners are driving the field to score a touchdown, though.
Well, exactly. Right. And then the Lions went right back and did the same thing. Hell, they could.
I just think if they pick up the first down there, they could milk a lot more of the clock, score a touchdown, and possibly win the game.
Oh, for sure. Oh, you want to pull the balls out and throw it on the table? Do it with the 2-point convert when you're down by 1 late in the game.
Yeah,
which would have been incredible theater. But I feel terrible for Detroit. And listen, it is easy to blame Dan Campbell because I think there were some things that he did that did not help their chances to win the football game overall. But those 2 drops by Reynolds.
The one was on the 4th down. Like, that should have been converted. Goff hit him right in his bloody hands. Like, he's got to catch that ball.
There's an element of execution as well. There's definitely an element of execution to it as well. That, hey, they hadn't been in a spot like that before, and sometimes things like that happen, especially on high leverage plays where so much is hanging on the line. And listen, there's probably 3 guys on Amon-Ra St. Brown at that time. He was brilliant yesterday.
He was good. So, I mean, the swing when the ball bounces off the defender's helmet into Ayuk's hands, and then the fumble shortly after, I was just like, I don't care how many times they're going for it on 4th down. That was just a massive momentum swing in that football game, and I thought at that point the Niners were winning it no matter what, which sucked. I mean, it sucked. I know I told you on Friday, I was just like, I won't be that disappointed. And then I stopped myself partway through, and I was like, well, I guess it depends on how this game goes. And the way that game went, it left me very disappointed. It really did. It'd be interesting to see how Purdy does at even on a bigger stage. Because, I mean, I was just impressed with his ability to escape the pocket and come up with some major plays. Like, I didn't think he was great as a passer in that football game, but I thought he was pretty darn good just as a quarterback in general, making plays, not getting rattled in high-pressure spots. I was pretty impressed with him from that aspect for sure.
Okay, as far as the matchup goes, and again, we'll have plenty of time to talk about this over the next couple of weeks, but if I had told you last week the Chiefs and the Niners were going to win this game, what would you have thought the line would be?
I would have probably thought it would have been the Niners 2.5-ish, 3 maybe.
Yeah. 2.5, 3, like kind of similar to what the Baltimore number was.
Yeah, pretty close to that.
I mean, I think the fact that the Niners had to win in the fashion that they did and what Detroit did to them in some ways has obviously taken the shine off them a little bit. Although, like, it dropped in some books at 3 and immediately took heavy Chiefs action and went to 1.5. When I went to bed last night, the money line was Niners minus 120, Chiefs plus 102, and the line was 1.5. And I see now the line is 1 for San Francisco, -1, minus 109, Chiefs +1, minus 109, and the money line -115 for the Niners, -102 for the Chiefs. So the Chiefs are an underdog for the 3rd consecutive game. But this is about as close to a pick'em as we've had in a long time in a big game like this.
Yeah, I was going to say that's pretty much what it's going to come down to. Well, I think a lot of us have just learned. I mean, like we said it, we both went 2-0 this weekend on bets, and you getting Patrick Mahomes at +4 is 4.5. I think when I looked on Saturday. That just seemed like a number that was just too good to be true. So everybody got on it here. You're not going to make Patrick Mahomes a 3-point dog in the Super Bowl. Like that's just ridiculous.
No. And with what's happened with Purdy being shaky in the Green Bay game, having a rough first half, but then stepping up in the second half. The one thing I will say that as hard hitting as the Lions defense is, I mean, the Chiefs defense is on another level. Like that's the one thing that, all the talk going into this game was, Baltimore, they're so stacked. Baltimore's defense was ranked 6th overall. Everyone seemed to forget that the Chiefs were number 2. And it's so easy. And again, maybe it's Taylor hanging out in the box for all the games, Kelsey, the star power of Mahomes. But that defensive unit was basically like, it just was not talked about very much. And man, it was amazing seeing how many people were on the Ravens yesterday. And throughout the week, the closer we got to the week, we were kind of talking about the Chiefs and Lions right out of the gate last Monday. And I mentioned I bet those on Monday. As we got closer to the game, it seemed like we went back to the teams that were the best all season long. And one other interesting bit about this matchup, Dusty. Remember how miserable Christmas Day was for the two teams left standing? The Chiefs losing at home to the Raiders in the game where they gave up those 2 defensive touchdowns in 7 seconds. And then O'Connell, or whatever his name is, had no completions for the second, third, or fourth quarters, and the Raiders still won that game. And then later on that night, the Ravens going in and beating the piss out of the Niners in Santa Clara. Pretty wild that both of those teams were a lot of people wrote those teams off, big picture after that point. And lo and behold, look who's going to the Super Bowl. It's a rematch of Super Bowl 54. But this time there's no Jimmy G. It's Brock Purdy.
Well, Brock Purdy's very interesting. Like Smitty the Welder, who has to be a Niners fan, says, hopefully everyone keeps shitting on Purdy, and he just keeps showing people wrong. Like the Niners, I know Purdy had like a good season, but the Niners throw the football, only 2 teams throw the football less than the Niners. Like the Niners' success isn't built around Brock Purdy. Nothing against Brock Purdy, but their success is not built around Brock Purdy. Even this game, he went 20 of 31, had a touchdown and a pick. His biggest play of the game should have been intercepted, but bounced off a helmet. Like I said earlier, I thought his composure in the pocket and running the ball really was the difference for the Niners offense in that game. And obviously getting Christian McCaffrey going will be the key. So I don't know. I feel like Brock Purdy is viewed kind of the exact way Brock Purdy probably should be viewed heading into this game. Don't you, Huss? Or how do you think he'll be viewed over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, he'll be viewed as the second best quarterback in the Super Bowl matchup, but he's a guy.
It's funny because he's the one who's in for the MVP, and Mahomes isn't. You know what I mean? Like, it's really funny how it's all turned around.
Well, it's so much of that is narratives. I mean, put it this way: listen, I'm not here telling you that Mahomes during the regular season was, should have been up for the MVP. Although, when you see the way certain guys played around him, I mean, to get them to the record that they did with the lack of assistance, particularly from his receivers, maybe there is a little bit more to it. All I'll say about this is that Purdy has been awesome for the most part. Purdy has been pretty sketchy at times in these playoff games. And again, was in that Christmas game that I talked to you about. I mean, what did he have? 4 picks in that game? He was completely spooked. So I will say that at this stage and on this stage in the Super Bowl's next level, this is going to be new for him. But it's pretty hard not to give him the props. I mean, as bad as he was in the Green Bay game, he was 6 out of 7 on the winning drive that got them to the NFC Championship game. As bad as he in the offense was in the first half, there he was in the second half, making things happen. And, it's interesting that they sort of had to come back because let's face it, what's the knock on Kyle Shanahan? It's not coming back. It's blowing leads.
Not being able to hold leads. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he who had a nice part in 28-3 back in that Super Bowl with the Falcons and the Patriots. And we all remember the Chiefs putting up 3 touchdowns in the last 7 minutes of the game in Super Bowl 54 and erasing that 10-point lead and winning the game. So hell of a matchup. That was the as I said, I picked that at the start of the year, but at the beginning of the playoffs, I had that Chiefs Lions ticket. So I was pretty sour.
That would have been nice.
With your team.
And
I did look at the live odds at halftime. The Niners were plus 290 to win. After Detroit went up 14-0, they were still an underdog to win the game. Like, I think just because it happened so fast.
So quickly, lots of time left type of thing, yeah. Which proved to be the case.
They kicked that field goal and it went to halftime. So I'm sort of kicking myself for not kind of getting on the other side of that. But I will say this, shout out to them for getting that touchdown and covering. Because if they had not covered the spread in that game, they were up 17 with 7.5 points. That would have been one of the worst beats in NFL playoff history, I will say.
With what we've seen in the playoffs so far, do you see the Super Bowl script going kind of like what we saw with the Chiefs yesterday, where they come out and then they I'm not going to say hold on, because they weren't really holding on against the Ravens. They were in control there. But with 2 slow starts for the Niners, I guess, can the Niners overcome a slow start against the Chiefs as opposed to what they just did against the Packers and Lions?
You know what? It's a great question. Right now, thinking about this game, I don't think the Chiefs are playing with a double-digit lead early, like the
the Lions.
Frankly, yeah. I don't think that will happen. I think if anything, the game is just tight. I mean, it's close at halftime, and then the second half is when, much like the first time these two teams met, the second half of the game is when things are won. How these defenses handle, like that. One thing that we haven't talked about, the Niner defense has been so great. They did not look good for a good portion of the game yesterday against Detroit. And listen, I know, what's the OC, your OC? Ben
Johnson. He's probably going to be gone, but yeah.
Yeah. Listen, they've got athletes there. I thought he had a great game plan. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do more of that in the second half and kind of close the job. But the Niner defense has not really been the Niner defense, if you will, over the last little while. I mean, the Lions and Packers put up some pretty significant numbers on them. But I don't see the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs don't blow anybody out, and they're not going to blow the Niners out. That's not even a thought. But I have a hard time imagining the game starting with 2 quick touchdown drives on the first 2 drives like Kansas City did yesterday, and then just playing with a lead.
Yeah.
I mean, I think San Francisco is going to get theirs. I wouldn't be surprised if the game is actually a little bit more like the Buffalo game with the Chiefs, where it's a little bit of back and forth. We see a few lead changes, and then come fourth quarter, whoever handles the moment and the pressure of the individual plays, the individual matchups, will be the team that wins. It's going to be awesome, man. I mean, we've got basically a pick 'em for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Get better than that.
So the Super Bowl, obviously, with Cool Bet and everywhere you look, will have a ton of different props. Just for fun right now, Huss, for the conversation, what would you set the Super Bowl prop at for cuts to like Taylor Swift on camera shots? What would you set that at for the Super Bowl?
Well, it's funny you bring that up because not this week, but last week before the Buffalo game, we were down at Confusion Corner, and I've got a big crew of people there, and we've got a Chiefs table. We're beside a bunch of Bills guys. And I got talking with a guy, and he was saying something about Taylor Swift, and I'm like, I can't wait to see her all afternoon today. And we kind of were talking about that, and we said, well, what do you think the line is going to be times that she'll be shown? And so we made a bet for the Bills game on exactly that at 5. So And I kind of said, well, this is basically a bet on, this is just another fun way of betting on Kelsey catches.
Yeah.
Because I think when Kelsey gets a catch, they will show that. And that was pretty much bang on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the entire bar was in on this. So every time, like, they showed Taylor Swift, if you were on our side with the bet, everyone was going, yeah, Taylor. On the other side, boo. It added an electric atmosphere and another angle to the game. But it ended up at 5. And that was in a game that Kelsey had 2 touchdowns. So I think we're probably looking in the 5-6 range, like we have recently. Now, it is the Super Bowl. There's more time. Actually, now that I think about it, it's going to be way more than that. It's going to be way more than that.
Because it's the Super Bowl and there's, yeah.
It's the Super Bowl and there's so many casual people that don't, like, there'll be a lot of people watching just to see Taylor Swift, which has already been the case. I mean, the amount of stories I hear about, dads with young girls that have never cared at all about football, that all of a sudden are really into watching the Chiefs games and getting a chance to get a glimpse of their hero and learning more about football at the same time has been great. I think the number someone put out, it was like a Darren Rovell tweet or whatever, the financial value of the exposure that Taylor Swift's given the NFL over the last number of weeks is like $331 million. But it's awesome. And how good did she look in that AFC Champions hat yesterday afternoon? Oh, God.
Her pointing to, we need to get odds on when the Super Bowl Travis Kelce proposes to Taylor Swift on the field in the most American sweetheart story of all time.
That would be, and you know what? Kelce would do that. Like Kelce, like honestly, I might even take a piece of that. If Coolbet throws that out there, I will put a little sprinkle just to support. Because Dusty, when true greatness combines with true love, that's when magic happens. And there's a lot of magic right now.
Mark in the chat says 7 times. Duck Dad says once a quarter and maybe once at the end. I'd go with 5 for a line. And Big Uke says she's getting shown on every Chiefs score or Kelsey play. So I'd set the number around 7.5. And it would be interesting.
And again, are we talking the broadcast?
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
There's a lot of extra things with the broadcast. Like by the time at the end, when we were on 5 in the Bills game,
yeah.
And I'm like, he was going, it's at the end of the gun. The final gun is when the bet ended. And it got a little controversial. We said, no, the broadcast. Like,
yeah.
If she comes out after the game and gets a little of, that's still part of the game. So whatever. We had some.
They have to clarify on that because it's like by the end of the broadcast or just during the game because she's going to be all over it if they win. I mean, she's going to be.
Yeah. Like there'll be a lot of stuff. Yeah, listen, if you hate the Chiefs and Taylor Swift, I got bad news for you about the next couple weeks. By the way, I have to get, because I've been an early adopter. I said on this program, the combination of the Chiefs kingdom and the Swifties coming together was really going to be an unstoppable force, which has been the case. The Swifties online operation is beyond anything I've ever seen in my life. And they are ride or die so hard with their girl and the Chiefs because of that. Like just seeing these, and I would go to their Twitter feeds and like check their profiles. And these are just teen, tween, young adult girls that love Taylor Swift. They were riding with the Chiefs so hard, blowing up the trash talk from the Ravens and their videos that they put together with this. I mean, it's unlike anything I've ever seen, but I'm completely here for it. I am not a gatekeeper. The more people that love this great game, the better. And if they all happen to be riding with Mahomes and Kelsey to another Super Bowl, all the better for it. And let's face it, yes, NFL, they are the big beneficiaries of this through no work or fault or a benefit of their own. Not through none of their own doing, I should say. The Chiefs and Travis Kelce helping, and Taylor Swift, of course, taking this Super Bowl and this season to a whole nother level.
This one is in from Corey from Beaumont at 780-218-9999 on the EST text line. Taylor Swift on screen could be a great drinking game during the Super Bowl. We're going to be set up at Century Casino here. And yeah, that would be, I would say shots. That's shots. That's not just having a sip of beer. You get shots lined up. And when she is shown, you're doing shots. And we're staying at the hotel that night. So we could just get into the shots with Taylor Swift on camera. So that'd be a fun game, actually. That'd be a lot of fun.
Smart move. Yeah. You're gonna need to have a few.
Yeah, we're doing all of our shows from the casino the next day. Like, we're not leaving. We're just gonna stay and then do all of our shows the next day, which should be fun. So
that is that is outstanding.
We call it a veteran move, Huss. We call it a veteran move.
Yeah. No, listen, that's the best. And I would love, I got to get down there to Century Casino with you guys at some point.
You'd love it. You'd love this place.
Love seeing you guys. I love it. Well, I mean, I see LTE throwing out. The food looks really good.
The food is good, and it's just got a nice feeling to it down there, buddy. It's good. Plus, you can slide over, hit the tables if you want a little bit at halftime or whatever, right? Go hit a slot. You can bet on the ponies. I mean, you got everything going on there. It's good. I like this. Big Maple Sports Cards in the nasty chat. Andy Reid breaks down balling when Kelsey takes a knee at the same time Mahomes does to run out the clock.
I guarantee you know what? Some of the Swifties out there are already writing like rom-com scripts.
Oh, for sure.
That are going to be released next week. The story of how it's all happening. Hey, I mean, the script is the script. And the script says the Chiefs back in the Super Bowl going up against the Niners. And I have looked into this. So Taylor's got her concert in Tokyo.
Yes.
So she's going to finish in Tokyo. I would imagine leave very shortly afterwards on a private bird and come straight to Vegas. And she should get there with like 22 hours to spare.
Oh, that's
so
okay
have a
then.
Nap, get her beauty sleep.
She'll be fine.
Get ready to go. And then
I thought we were going to get the camera on the private jet landing just hours before the game. That's what the people really want.
Well, you know what? Cue up the Taylor Swift flight tracker.
Oh, of course.
Right. Yeah.
How's there not going to be a Taylor Swift flight tracker? Of course there's going to be.
You know, if I wasn't going to be away, I would maybe fire that up. And I would maybe fire that up and just be on it. All right. The Queen has left Tokyo. She is on her way to do it. Oh, and by the way, listen, hey, you know what? We won in the AFC Championship game. This is a moment for me to sort of maybe, get really high on my Chiefs stuff. And Raider fans, if you're a Raider fan, plug your ears right now. The fact that they are covering up the Raider logo at Allegiant Stadium and putting Chiefs on there, and the Chiefs are going to be playing in the Super Bowl there and in the playoffs there before the Raiders is just one of the most beautiful.
Did you really expect it to happen any other way, buddy? Like, come on.
Well, I did see a thing. There was some guy that was working on building Allegiant Stadium that was a Chiefs fan.
Yeah.
And underneath the stadium, he planted a Chiefs Kingdom flag. So on the grounds.
Brilliant move. Brilliant move.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of good comments. Duck Dad says he's proposing at the end of the Super Bowl parade in a rainstorm of confetti. Book it. And that's how the movie ends, us, right? That's how the movie ends. They get to a couple of shots of the parade and then the confetti and the proposal. That's a good one.
On that, listen, I do expect, like, if there were odds right now on do Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift get engaged before week 1 of the NFL season next year, I would take that. I would make that bet.
Look at you becoming a relationship guru here. I love it.
Hey, it's the greatest love story of this century. I mean, how can we not be into it?
Also, Big Maple Sports Cards in the nasty chat with an all-timer. Imagine if Ohtani gets off the jet instead of Swift. That is so good. Big Maple, dude. Unbelievable. That's
you know what?
That's good.
Taylor Swift is one of the only people on the planet that is bigger than Ohtani. Really, when
Yeah,
you
like
think
across,
about
like globally. Yeah, it's a good point. She would be,
it. Like
but
Ohtani, I mean, like I don't know if there's anybody bigger globally. Like, and I'm including like who really are the biggest
I
stars?
was just
mean,
gonna say, like,
Messi,
who are the 5 biggest stars globally? Otani.
I think in sports, I'm putting Messi and Ronaldo kind of at the top. I think Tiger Woods was there. I'm not sure whether he's there anymore. Soccer is such a global game.
Yeah.
Those two guys, like the all-time greats.
I think the international flavor of Lewis Hamilton probably goes quite a ways. Not at that level, but with the Formula One, being around the world, I think he'd be a top 10 guy. He'd be a top 10 guy for sure. He'd be definitely top 10 in sports. We're talking like if you include entertainers. I mean, Taylor Swift would be in there. Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast would be in there. LeBron would be in there. Mr. Beast, yeah. I mean, the guy's, he's a monster online, right? And around the world. I think he'd probably work in there. LeBron would be in there. That's a fun little game. Jimmy Onishi's in and says Ron Francis because we were having a debate today. We were talking top 5 all time, and if Sid's there already or if he gets there. And Belineski in the chat this morning was like, Ronnie Francis is a top 5 player all time. I was like, you're nuts. So that's where the Ronnie Francis joke comes from. And it is very well timed if you were following along on Edmonton Sports Talk today.
Duck Dad, a young Stu Barnes.
Yeah, young Stu Barnes sliding in there as well. Hey, what happened at the Royal Rumble?
The Royal Rumble. Well,
no Rock?
No Rock. The women's Rumble was great. That was one of the toughest things. So I go to the Jet Leaf game on Saturday, and knowing that I have PVR'd it and it is going on, I basically had to just not look at my phone from midway through the game. We went out for a few beers afterwards and went through. So that was why I was basically off the grid. Women's Rumble was amazing. Jade Cargill, who we tabbed, did come in at 28, was right there at the end, but it was the favorite Bailey that got the win. And then we were right in fading CM Punk. We were right that it was going to be either Gunter or Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes ended up getting it. And that was too bad we didn't jump on him at plus 300 because his numbers sort of backed up a little bit. And it's funny, they always, following these odds heading into the Rumble over the course of the week, it's nice to have been doing it a few times a little bit before because it seems like there's always some information out there that gets there that moves the lines in a way that contradicts what actually ends up happening. So anyways, Cody Rhodes was the winner. So it was tight. We were right in it. We were taking plus money, a couple underdogs, and it didn't happen. But very, very enjoyable evening. Heading into Saturday. And it was so great because completely took not my mind off the Ravens Chiefs game, but the amount of stress going through that Saturday, like, thank God we had a hockey game, Royal Rumble, and then basically got up, and, the game was kicking off in a couple hours. So we made it happen. Yes, Bailey wins, well-deserved. I'm just surprised that they're using her, Mark, as... I mean, she has been around for a long time and she's got a lot of star power. I just look at kind of what they're looking at in their champions and their top contenders. She's a great character, but my God, do they have some amazing... I mean, to think where women's wrestling is now, like, I mean, it's such incredible athletes.
The athletes are just insane now, right? Like,
doing stuff that, like, Charlotte Flair used to do it and it was only her. Now they're all doing it. Half of the new ones look like playmates while they're at it as well. I mean, they know what they're doing right now, the WWE. But I thought the women's was actually better and a little more exciting than the men's, to be perfectly honest with you. But I guess we'll see what happens on Raw tonight.
I wish we had more hockey to talk about early in the week. I know the weekend coming up here, but a light night, just one game tonight. I think 2 games tomorrow night, 3 games on Wednesday, and then that's it. We'll have some golf we can talk on Wednesday, which will be good, though. But, man, I wish we would have seen a couple heavy NHL slates here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what is good? We've got Pebble Beach.
Yeah, we got Pebble Beach coming up.
Maybe we'll get into that more with Pat and Jake as we get
Hey, we
closer
should try to get
it
Patty
over the
on
next
Wednesday
couple
for a
days.
golf episode, eh? It's like old times.
Yeah.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. And then on Friday, I would imagine I'm looking forward to handicapping this NHL All-Star festivities.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, eh?
Do we know the 12 guys that are in the the contest yet?
Has that been announced yet? I don't know if that's been announced yet.
I was looking into the format. It's pretty wild. There's 6 categories, and everyone's going to participate in 4 of the 6. The top 8 move on, and then there's a shootout competition where they pick the goalie that they're shooting on. I think the top 6 move on from that. And then the final one with double points is some sort of obstacle course. But it is cool with everyone competing with points going through, $1 million on the table. I thought I heard Cale Makar was in it, or he had said to his buddies that he was going to be in it. But I don't know whether McDavid's going to do it. I don't know whether Austin Matthews are doing it. I would think that Kyle Connor, who got added, might be a guy that would be he could potentially be a guy that they would put in there, wanting to focus on more. Although, listen, there's so many great players at this event I'm far more interested in the skills competition than what happens in the 3-on-3.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. One thing we can do, Duck, that makes a good point. NHL Futures episode this week too. Revisit everything because the boys at Coolbet said they were going to get all the new awards up and things like that. The Edmonton Oilers are the Stanley Cup favorite now, plus 625.
That's amazing. How quickly everything changes.
Isn't that nuts? Imagine me going on the air in November early November being like, I think the Oilers are going to be Stanley Cup favorites come All-Star break. Are you kidding me? People would have thought I was nuts. Yet here we are. So, we'll get into that. There'll be an NHL Futures reset here during the week. We'll get into that. As Huss mentioned, we got some golf to dive into on Wednesday as well, and we'll find some fun stuff on Thursday and Friday. What's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk today, buddy?
Well, we'll get into the Jets. They put Declan Chisholm on waivers. That's a big topic here. He's been sitting out. They've been worried that they were going to lose him at some point, but they had to do it. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. Jets at the break. Obviously, a lot of talk about the Super Bowl matchup and the games on the weekend. And Bomber news today, Chris Kolinkowski.
I saw that.
So kind of touch into that. That's a nice signing.
Blockbuster in the CFL, too. You see that trade with the Ticats and Argos?
Well, yeah. It was just a ton of picks. The Argos moved
and
from
Jordan Williams.
5.
Yeah, and Jordan Williams moving, too. But, a bunch of draft picks involved as well. Somebody said it looked like a WHL or OHL trade with the amount of picks because there was 6 or 7 picks and then the linebacker, the Canadian. So it was, that was something.
I got to figure out a play of the day here. Who are we liking, the Preds or the Sens?
I mean, I was going to say,
they lost their last game to the Rangers, but before that, I think they'd won.
I think it was 4. Was it 3 in a row? The Preds have lost 3 of 4, including one to the Oilers.
So the Sens, they lost 3-2 in OT to the to Bruins. They've got the Rangers, and before that, they'd won 3. Nashville, for their part, I'm actually still surprised Nashville's kicking around.
They're lurking around, man. They're hanging around. They didn't play a bad game against the Oilers either. The Oilers ended up kind of just doing what they're doing lately and finding a way to win. But Nashville hit 3 posts in that hockey game. I thought Nashville played pretty well. That's why I kind of initially said maybe Nashville in that spot. But you could always dive into the association tonight, Huss. You never know.
That is for sure. Well, the one game, I think I'll jump on it. We'll see. Well, anyways, we'll throw that on the Coolbet socials later on. Again, as I tweeted yesterday, someone got at me. I don't know whether they were a lock shopper. Huss, are you ready for the Chiefs to fail? I said, people that have tweeted that at me in the playoffs are 3-13. They're now 3-14. And
talk to you later, buddy. See you later, man. There you go. That is Huss. Just another all-time victory lap for Huss as the Chiefs get it done yet again. And you have to think, we're not going to sit here and bet against Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, are we? Like, that just seems crazy. We got lots of time to lead up to that. Light night in the NHL, as we mentioned there. I'll take you quick rip through just a couple of things here before we have the oil stream coming up here at Edmonton Sports Talk. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. We do have some exclusives. They always find a way. NHL exclusives tonight. Roman Josi and Chychrun both to record a point, plus 260, just the one game tonight. Hey, now you're an all-star. Brady Tkachuk and Forsberg both to score, plus 425. The Monday night barn burner, Nashville and Ottawa to combine for 7+ goals, and the game goes to overtime, plus 625. And then the shots prop tonight need 3+ from Timmy Stützle, Ryan O'Reilly, and Claude Giroux. Over on the NBA side with some exclusives. You just go to coolbet.com. Stay cool, bet responsibly with Coolbet, where I did mention the Oilers are the Stanley Cup favorites again. And we'll get into that coming up here on the oil stream with myself and Tommy. Canada, SGA to record 30+ points. Jamal Murray to record 3 3-pointers or more, plus 210. Giannis, Wemby, and Luka. Giannis with 30+ points, Wemby 10+ rebounds, Luka 10+ assists, plus 270. I don't mind that one, actually. Chalk it up. The Knicks, the Celtics, the Kings, and the Mavs all to win. That'd be your heavy chalk favorites, plus 270. And the Chamberlain, Mitchell, Booker, James, and Edwards to each score 25+ points, which, of course, would equal 100, which, of course, is what Wilt did. That one is 4-1. One little NBA play I don't mind sprinkling a little bit tonight. And let me just make sure this number hasn't moved since I was looking at it between shows here. I know Booker has been on absolute tear lately for the Suns. The Miami Heat, though, are one of the teams that actually defends pretty well against number one options on the other side. So I don't mind KD to have himself a little bit of a game tonight. And you can get Kevin Durant. The number right now is just at 24 points. KD is averaging over 28 per game on the season. He's taken a little bit of a back seat here to Booker just absolutely going off. His last 3 games are 12, 20, and 15. And that's taken a back seat. If there's a little bit more of an elevated defensive look on Booker today, I do like KD to step up. Prior to this 12, 20, 15 stretch, he'd gone off for 27, 26, 40, and 43. So the Suns have been scoring a bunch of points. I'm not like Booker's still going to get his, but I think there's a definite path here to KD putting up more than 24 tonight, and you can get the over 24 at minus 130. Cowboys in it says the golf make the cut push was an absolute gift. Glad some of you guys got in. I missed the golf last week. I was a day late. On it, which kind of sucked. Not this week, though. We'll be on top of it this week here in the lock show. Like I said, just the one game in the National Hockey League tonight. UC Saros is unconfirmed, but considering he didn't play here against Edmonton, seems likely. And then Mad Sogard right now, of which we pulled a rookie card in the Crack Pack break last night. Mad Sogard is likely for the Sens. If you've been watching today on YouTube, make sure you give us a sub as we try to push up towards 7,000 subs before we take off for Vegas a week today. So if you've been watching, whether it's live or archived or came across us, give us a sub. That would be much appreciated as well. We'll be back with the Lock Shop tomorrow. A little bit more hockey to talk about tomorrow. Hopefully we get those NHL futures up tomorrow and we can really dive into those bad boys as well. How about the Edmonton Oilers? Stanley Cup favorites once again at plus 625. What a wild year. We finally have a little bit of chance to breathe on the Mighty Oil, and we'll do that coming up with the Oil Stream here with myself and Tommy Gazzola. That is going to do it for the Lock Shop today. Thank you very much for joining us today. Good luck tonight, and we will talk to you tomorrow.